Hello, Namaskar. Let's analyze our neighbor Bangladesh today. This country is in thick soup, as they say. Every day is a developing story. Violence, arson, killings, torching of media outlets. The country is in total mess. By the time this video reaches you, the scene may be altogether different from what it is today. So keep following.
এই নিচে নামেন আল্লাহু আকবার আল্লাহু আকবার
We know how it all started. On 5th August 2024, at around 2:25 pm, the then Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina fled the country for India with the help of the army when pro-democracy protesters were violently protesting against her rule. Yunus Malik then took over as the chief advisor of the interim government on 7th August 2024. Since then, Bangladesh has never returned to normalcy, as was expected, as he came in power as a popular choice of the student leaders and protesters. It's been 17 months and the situation is back to what it was then. The country is still under siege of violence of the worst kind. So let us examine what's happening and its implications for the region and particularly India, as we happen to be its immediate neighbor, sharing 4,095 kilometers of border, the largest one. As per latest developments, the death of student leader Sharif Usman Hadi, who succumbed to injuries on Thursday, which is December 18, 2025, after being shot in the head by motorbike riding assailants in Dhaka earlier in the week, has led to widespread protests. He was reportedly shot on December 12th, flown to Singapore for treatment, and died after days on life support. His killing has ignited anger on the streets of Dhaka and across multiple cities, and intense demonstrations, including near India's diplomatic missions. Hadi, 32 years old, was a spokesperson for the Inqilab Mancha movement and a prominent figure in the student-led uprising that helped topple Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina in 2024. Since news of his death spread, protesters have torched the offices of Bangladesh's leading newspapers, Pratham Olo and the Daily Star, smashed their buildings and clashed with the police, and also targeted symbols associated with India and the Awami League, accusing both of betrayal and demanding accountability. The unrest began intensifying on December 17th, when student organizations and political platforms like July Oikya staged protests in Dhaka, advancing towards the Indian High Commission before being blocked by police barricades. Some demonstrators threatened to enter the Indian mission unless their demands, which included justice for Hadi and the repatriation of former leaders, were addressed. By December 18th and 19th, the situation worsened. Students and activists blocked roads and clashed with authorities in multiple cities. Demonstrators also held sit-ins inside the Indian Assistant High Commission in Chattogram, where police had to push them back after some anti-India slogans were raised as reported by the Tribune. The unrest, deeply political and emotionally charged, has intensified the already fragile conditions in Bangladesh just days before India issued a formal diplomatic démarche to Bangladesh's High Commissioner in New Delhi over the threats to the Indian High Commission in Dhaka. India has closed its visa application center. That marks a major development in bilateral relations. Now, what was the context of India's démarche? Against this backdrop of growing unrest, on December 17th, 2025, India's Ministry of External Affairs summoned Bangladesh's High Commissioner M. Riaz Hamidullah to deliver formal démarche. This is a diplomatic protest conveying India's serious concern about threats to its diplomatic mission in Dhaka and the deteriorating security environment affecting Indian premises and personnel. In its official statement, The MEA said, and I quote: "The Bangladesh High Commissioner was apprised of India's strong concerns at the deteriorating security environment in Bangladesh, particularly the activities of certain extremist elements who have announced plans to create a security situation around the Indian mission in Dhaka." The statement went on to say, India completely rejects the false narrative sought to be created by extremist elements regarding certain developments. And further added, we expect the interim government to ensure the safety of missions and posts in Bangladesh in keeping with its diplomatic obligations. These lines convey both alarm and a firm reminder of Bangladesh's responsibility under the diplomatic protocols established by the Vienna Convention. So, what was the envoy's response? Bangladesh's High Commissioner Riaz Hamidullah responded with a diplomatic tone when addressing audience in New Delhi at the Victory Day. He emphasized that shared interests between the two countries, saying, "We believe our relationship with India is in our shared interests. There is mutual interdependence and a shared emphasis on peace, stability, and regional prosperity." He also referred to the aspirations of Bangladesh's youth, noting the entire nation of Bangladesh is committed to the aspirations of its people, especially the youth. Now, his remarks conveyed reassurance while aiming to temper the diplomatic temperature after a public rebuke. In the background of Awami League, which is the main opposition party which was being banned from contesting February 12, 2026 elections, irrespectively, these elections are of immense importance for India. In these disturbing conditions, India's stakes in present-day Bangladesh face serious uncertainty. Political instability and street violence can weaken people-to-people ties built over decades, affecting travel, education, and cultural exchanges. A change in political leadership may alter Dhaka's strategic alignment, impacting India's security interests in the Bay of Bengal and the northeast border. The border management could suffer, leading to renewed concerns over illegal migration, smuggling, and cross border militancy. Indian investments in infrastructure, energy, and connectivity projects may face delays or policy reversals, making the election outcome critical for regional stability. Let's unpack what these events could mean for bilateral ties, both in the short term and over the coming months. Firstly, India's issuance of a démarche reflects concern that domestic political actors, especially those with anti-India or national rhetoric, can create situations that threaten diplomatic norms. For New Delhi, safeguarding its missions is non-negotiable, and public safety lapses or inflammatory political rhetoric can strain relations even when governments intend cooperation. Secondly, diplomatic signaling and narrative controlling is important. India's démarche did more than register a security concern. It sought to counter narratives being propagated on social and traditional media in Bangladesh about Indian involvement. In a politically charged environment, controlling narratives is essential to prevent escalations that could harden public opinion against New Delhi. Third, operational disruptions and bilateral trust. The protests have already forced India to suspend or tighten visa services in Dhaka and other Bangladeshi cities due to security issues. These practical disruptions affect people to people ties and compound public frustration. Also, if repeated, such measures could deepen mistrust. So, in conclusion, the killing of Sharif Usman Hadi, the violent protests that followed, and the related threats near Indian missions reflect a volatile mix of domestic politics, public sentiments, and diplomatic sensitivities. For India and Bangladesh, neighbors with deep historical, economic, and strategic ties, this episode is both a challenge and a test. The coming weeks, especially with Bangladesh's parliamentary elections approaching, will be crucial in determining whether this crisis becomes a deeper fault line or a managed diplomatic challenge. Thank you. Namaskar. Jai Hind.